Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Pick up your logo merchandise by heading over to abvnetwork.com, clicking on Shop, and start filling your basket today. We are also sponsored by the Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for something for yourself, a customized gift, or logoed items for your business gift shop, the Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. That's the number 2 in the Bar to Go. Don't forget our friends at Neely Family Distillery now ship their unique distilled spirits directly to you. To order yours, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we talk with my friend Jenna Brownson about her book, Ginned Up. My name is Steve Akeley. Please join me in welcoming my special guest, Miss Jenna Brownson. Jenna, how you doing?
I'm great, Steve. So good to be with you.
So good to be with you as well. This is fun. So what the audience doesn't know is you and I, well, and maybe if they're longtime listeners, they know. But you and I have known each other a long time, right?
That's true. Yeah. I think back to 14, maybe.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. So yeah, that's when I got started in all this in 2013. And I did get started on Twitter, but we weren't right away that I met you, but pretty soon. So I want to say probably easily 2014. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I joined Twitter because I was led to believe that was a good place to go ahead and share with people that you're a writer. And you reached out to me in one of those private messages and were very generous with your suggestion that if I decided to self-publish, that you had all sorts of good advice to share if I decided to go that way.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of that. So I just like, first of all, I like controlling my own destiny. What I do, I want to own my stuff. And I also I don't want a boss. I don't want anybody telling me what to do and all that kind of stuff. So, and you make more money. That's what I feel. I guess the big guys, if you're this huge, international global writer, you're a Stephen King type. Well, then that's better to go with that. But for most of us, I think the self-publishing route is definitely a way to go. But,
right.
Yeah. So literally it's kind of you, me, and then a group of friends on Twitter, just trying to, get noticed out there. Right. I mean,
right.
Yeah, just trying to do things. You and I both had one thing in common too. We're always up early. We're up early right now recording this, but we were always up early working on our stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's when the house is quiet.
You're right. You, to me, were the best of the bunch in terms of writing. I in the group that we hung out with, I mean, the proficiency that you had, the ability to put words, on virtual paper, I guess, it's an electronic document, but the ability to write and put all that out there, you used to amaze me how much you could write. And just I'm on my 7th novel, or I'm on, you're just unbelievable amount of volume that you could do. So cool. So cool. So
yeah, it's a discipline, but I think I was uniquely blessed with a lot of words. And, once my family got tired of listening to them, I decided to just sit down and write stories.
So, and how's it been going? I mean, we'll talk about this project, Ginned Up, and after the break, but just in general, the writing thing, what's been going on?
Well, so I sat down and started writing in the spring of 2014, and by February of 16 had written those 7 novels that you referred to. I think a lot of writers write a book and then start looking for an agent and hope that their project will be picked up. And that calls for a lot of salesmanship, which is not my strong suit. So I just kept writing and kept writing and kept writing. And at this point, I have queried, that's the, I guess, term of art used in the publishing industry when you are seeking out an agent. I've queried my 5th novel with some warm feedback, but it has yet to be picked up by an agent in the hopes of selling it to a publisher. And I've got 2 other books that I'm working with critique partners on to try to get those in a form which is perhaps more marketable. But I think what it boils down to in the publishing industry for many writers is that you need to produce a product that agents and publishers believe is something that they can sell. And that means that you have to cater to the whims of the market.
Right.
So, in that vein, I think that there are people who can crank out all sorts of books that come into a certain format or formulaic in some way. And the love of writing, I believe, should be done for the writer. Him or herself should be, or their self should be really thinking about what story they want to tell and just sit down and do it. I think I read a statistic that 80% of people believe that they have a book in them, and yet only a tiny fraction actually sit down and put that book on paper or virtual paper, as you had said at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's still a tremendous accomplishment to be able to say, I wrote a book.
Yeah.
And even if it goes no place, that is something that I think is really commendable.
Yeah, I believe that too. And just reach into yourself and see creative wise where you are. I think that's how you discover, what you can do. And I think people need to do it. I sometimes I go on Twitter, and that's a tough thing. Twitter to me is more focused on my writing career than anything, than the other social medias, which are more bourbon focused. Though I put my bourbon stuff out there, but you go out there, and it is kind of sad because there's a lot of people that have written books, and it's just they're trying to find an audience. They're trying to figure out a way to stand out, and I don't think anything necessarily correlates either. I don't know that talent and the best books necessarily get picked up by agents. I don't know, so it's just amazing who breaks through. It just doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, actually. There's such a luck factor that's still involved in whatever you're doing too. So I think that plays a big role. And that's why, again, I just publish my own stuff, so I don't have to talk to anybody else. I just put it out there and just throw it out there and see what happens. So, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I've had plenty that have just been bombs for sure.
Right. But it's working for you now.
Yeah. Things are good now, but I think you're good at doing this too, is build the community. I think you have to start building your community, and that's what's going to make a difference, because ultimately if you build your own audience, I think you control your own fate, whatever you do. And if you build that audience big enough, even if you are querying the big houses to write a book, I think that's what gets their attention too, is if you come in and you've got this following already. So I think a lot of laying the foundation things are still important, still important to do in writing. So
I would agree.
Yeah.
On all points.
Yep. So what we'll do next, we'll take a quick break, Jenna. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about this product, Ginned Up. We're going to talk about what's going on with that and how it's doing and all those good things after the break. All right?
Sounds great.
Hello, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, and let's talk for a moment about our sponsors, the people that make this show happen. First up is our friends at Moonshine University. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification at their office in Louisville. The information I learned through lead instructor Colin Blake and their team there is something that I continue to draw upon frequently in my role at the ABV Network. It truly is the standard of establishing a benchmark of knowledge of the bourbon industry. From history to production to brands and people, it's all there. Check out their full listing of programs, including Executive Bourbon Steward Certification, production classes if you're considering starting a distillery, and much more at moonshineuniversity.com. I also want to talk about Neely Family Distillery. Back in May of 2018, I met Royce Neely at Limestone Branch's Craft Bourbon Festival. It ended up not only being the start of a great friendship, I started to truly learn about what makes craft whiskey so amazing. You see, I had been a bourbon drinker for over 30 years at that point, and like many people who had been drinking bourbon a long time, I was hard-coded into thinking big bourbon was where it was at and craft was on a journey to get there. Spending time with Royce and learning the things he does to make his whiskey taste better started to really get me to appreciate how things like sweet mashing, open top fermentation, pot distillation, and the grains you are using not only makes your product taste better coming off the still, but also out of the barrel as well. I still love heritage brands and they make up a bulk of my collection. But when you find a craft distiller that is truly dedicated to the craft of distilling, you are drinking some of the best whiskey out there on the market today. That's exactly what's happening at Neely Family Distillery today. Check them out on the web at neelyfamilydistillery.com, or better yet, stop by and see them at their distillery in Sparta, Kentucky. And now, back to the show.
All right, I'm Neil.
And I'm Melanie.
Together we're the Robinsons, and you're listening to the Bourbon Daily.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are on the Bourbon Daily here. My name is Steve Akeley. I am with one of my friends, Jenna Brownson, one of my fellow authors, someone who was with me before I ever was in the bourbon industry. Jenna, you and I were talking before we got started here that I think people who know me now in bourbon just think that one day I started writing about bourbon and I was the Colonel Steve Akeley. I was the guy that they know now. And that really wasn't the case, was it? I mean, you knew me before I was even writing about bourbon, actually, but I didn't start out in bourbon. By chance, I love bourbon, but by chance, a bourbon book that I wrote took off, and that really focused me on bourbon. But before that, I was kind of writing about a bunch of different stuff. So,
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. Just trying to see what happens. Very proficient time. I mean, my catalog of writing has got 26 books or something like that. And a lot of short stories and all that stuff. But all that stuff was done in that from 2013 to probably 2015. Most of that stuff was done. Yeah. Right. So now I've been solely focused on bourbon, but yeah. But how about the crew? We used to hang out, Tina, do you talk to Tina or Sarah, the folks that we used to hang out with a little bit? Do you ever interact with those two anymore?
You know what? I have been keeping kind of a low profile when it comes to social media with respect to, with respect to a lot of that. I think that, having children between the ages of 14 and 20, I have seen how social media can be, toxic for them. So I try to model for them and try to sort of hide away when I am looking at social media and interacting with people. But a lot of my most recent community building, has been really more in my own hometown where I live, where my actual physical reality of community exists rather than in the virtual world.
Yeah. So tell us about this product, Ginned Up. How did this all come about and everything? Because it's like you said, it's your memoirs, but it's just a brief window of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I went ahead in the spring of 14 and sat down and wrote my first book. And I took real life events, my own real life events, and I fictionalized it. Mm-hmm. And over the course of these last, 7 years, really thought more critically about when you change the main character from a mother with 4 small children and a husband into a woman who doesn't have those intimate domestic relations, that it can actually end up sort of stunting the capacity of the main character to actually have any sort of real growth. So I went ahead this summer and began to fix it, I guess you could say, put it back into its original form, and also infuse it with 7 years of reflection. So Ginned Up, I went ahead and decided not to look for an agent and instead use this newer writers platform called Substack, where writers can go ahead and put up short pieces in sort of a newsletter kind of form. A lot of people there are doing narrative nonfiction or history or, trade between US and China on steel. I mean, really specific niche things. And it dawned on me that the people that are most likely to read my memoir are people who live in my community. So I
Yeah.
went ahead and opened up the platform and invited people in my community to read along. And to the degree that they had any memories associated with these events, that they would be invited to comment and sort of form a bit of a community memoir. But the story focuses on my my quick ascent and my glorious fall from being part of the main executive board in town. In Massachusetts, we don't. There are some communities that do have mayors, but smaller communities have boards of selectmen. And I was elected in May of 2013. And 10 months later, which was only 10 months into the 3-year term I was elected to, I resigned. And I resigned under what many people in my community saw as I resigned under a cloud of scandal. And for these
Really?
last 7 years, I have kept my mouth shut. And now that I am opening my mouth, I have received three letters threatening to sue me for telling my own story. And I am a lawyer, and I know enough about libel law, and I can read case law to tell me that what I'm doing is absolutely legitimate. It is well within my rights, my First Amendment rights of freedom of speech.
Yep.
And I am undaunted by the threats of pending litigation. Even so, I think that as the episodes unfold, the people who are reading Ginned Up come to understand not only one person's experience with small town politics, but also how that evolved in the midst of a family and in the midst of a marriage. So it has, it does have some hard parts in that my experience was that I became very much entangled with someone else in town who is in the town's daily exposure. And that became really complicated and really confusing. And I was behaving badly. So throughout my memoir, I'm sharing with people my character flaws and my bad decision making. Perhaps it's a cautionary tale in some ways. But my hope is that hope is that people will understand that this little slice of life is something that, to my mind, is a really curious study on human motivation and behavior, and especially loyalties and betrayals.
Yeah. So you go into this thing, just wanting to help out, I'm sure. You're involved in that position. You're wanting to help out your community and things like that. And then you get into all this other stuff, and it kind of breaks your spirit a little bit, probably. I mean, because again, you end up getting all these other things that don't relate to what your goal was with this, and ultimately you resign. So the story all is centered around those 10 months. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I sent out episode 13 last night to the subscribers to Ginned Up.
Okay.
And every Monday at 8 p.m., I hit publish and give people, it's anywhere between a 25 and 35 minute episode. So I sort of think of it as like sitting down on a Thursday night at 8:30 and watching on NBC Friends. Like you look forward, I hope you look forward to it.
Uh-huh.
And you take your time to go through and hear the unfolding of this kind of complex and ugly telling of what life is like in a small town where people who want to do good things end up doing very bad things.
Well, tell us a little bit about the platform then, exactly how this works. Do we pay up front and then we get this episode every Monday?
Correct.
How
So
does it work? Yeah.
There are a couple different ways to subscribe. You can be an annual subscriber, or you can be a monthly subscriber, and you can cancel at any time. So if you ended up even jumping in now as a subscriber, you would have access to the first 13 episodes.
Okay.
And you could get all caught up and then go along with the story week to week, getting the episodes on Monday evenings.
Okay. And then from your perspective, just so we know behind the scenes, is it all done then? And then you have all this ready to go, or are you still continuing to write this as you go?
Right. So the original manuscript, and you probably will have a respect for word count. The original fictionalized manuscript is 220,000 words. So we're talking.
That's Jenna. That's Jenna right there.
Crime and punishment length. Half of just a lot of words. A lot of words. So it's a story that as I am taking the fictionalized version, I usually cut about 5,000 words out of that manuscript, drop it into an episode document, and then go through and change Lara, who was the protagonist, to Jenna, who is me, and then also infuse it with a lot of the hard-won knowledge that I have garnered over the last 7 years in really thinking about what happened and reflecting upon it and remembering it. It's an interesting experience to be of an age, my age being 50, being of an age and being able to just with words on a page have these memories come back up again with such a vivid texture that it makes me hopeful that my brain is not as mushy as sometimes it feels.
Yeah. So, and how long do you think this will go? Do you have a set date where it'll be going to, or is it like, I may, continue to add to it? So yeah, what is there a sunset or is it not?
There is a sunset. So my expectation, I published on July 19th. My hope is to be done by that time next summer. Okay. So the plan is to be done by July. So even if people signed up for the annual subscription, if we get to the end of the story, I'll just prorate refunds for anyone who bought in and is not getting a full year of publications from that. So no, my hope is that in July of next year, I'll be able to finally step away from a lot of heartache and sadness and anxiety that I've felt over the last many years sitting on this story. But for various reasons, which will become clear as we unfold, I kind of had to wait. I wasn't ready to publish it, and there were some legal aspects that needed to run by way of statute of limitations before I felt comfortable making public admissions of my bad behavior.
Wow. I gotta sign up for this. I gotta check this out and find out what's going on. So, it sounds cool. So you've got this project done in this different way. Will there be another one via this platform then after that, or are you just kind of back to falling behind the scenes, just working quietly and trying to get your way into publishing?
Well, I'm going to answer you the way lawyers answer people.
Okay.
It depends, right? It depends. If I have, if I feel like I have a lovely group of really invested readers, I think I would be inclined to take one of the 7 novels that I have sitting and offer that up in a subscription form. It could be that this is the way I end up, sort of launching my literary career. It might just be with a group of really lovely readers who like my voice, who like my long sentences, and who appreciate the way that I've constructed stories. So it depends is going to be my answer on that. And certainly if a literary agent picks up my story and sells it to a publisher and can sell it on the representation that there are 6 others out there, it could be the case that I get swept up into the traditional publishing industry. But if I don't, and I don't hold great hopes that will happen, it really is a very rare event that someone writes a book, gets an agent, and sells a book that does well. It's
Right.
The numbers are not the numbers
Exactly.
are not hope inspiring. So we'll see. I don't know. I love the idea that there are people who are reading this story who know me, who don't like me. I think that that's a statement about their open-heartedness to maybe learn something. And I love the fact that there are strangers who are not part of my community who are reading it as well, because that's also an interesting feeling to have, is putting something creative out into the world and having no idea who's receiving it. There's something cool about that.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely. And that's, I don't know. I've done a lot of different things at this point, a lot of different types of media, but at the end of the day, I still say all I am is a writer. All the other stuff is to build up the writing career.
Right.
and it's to build the audience, because I just want to be a writer. That's what I wanted to be when I was a kid. And that's what I want to be as a 53-year-old man and beyond. So writing is great. And it's just such a creative outlet. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you've finally got a venue, a platform to get some of this great writing that you've done out there into the world. And it's really a neat thing for sure.
Well, you know what I would like to do for your listeners? I'd like to offer a discounted subscription. I just have to figure out how to do it. I know that it's possible. And I just have to figure out how to do it on the platform, but I'd like to be able to give that to you, and you can share it with people. And if they have an interest, they can give it a try. And we'll see if I end up with some bourbon drinkers reading Ginned Up.
Absolutely. That sounds good. And yes, let me know. And for our listeners, check the description. We're recording this on a Tuesday. It'll come out on Sunday. So it'll come out later this week. I'll try to get with Jenna. Hopefully she can figure it out between now and then. Then I'll have it in the description where you can just, see what it is or how it works. And if not, I'll get with her as soon as possible and blast it out there to everybody via all of our social media and all that kind of stuff too. So should be cool.
That's great, Steve. You're very sweet. You're a good guy.
Should be good. Yeah, absolutely. I want you to be successful, and that would be very cool. So, and hopefully our audience is interested in you. I've done some consulting for you. Some of your characters in your books drink bourbon, and I've helped you with that. I've helped you. That is
true. You told me all about Jefferson and how the bourbon floats around on the ocean.
Exactly. So there you go. So Jenna, I think people want to follow your journey. Where can they do that now? What social media platforms or website, anything you want to share is fine by me.
So I would say the best place to go to read about this particular project is my name, JennaBrownson Substack, substack.com. As far as other social media, I'm on Facebook under the same name. I'm on Twitter under the same name. You can find me on Instagram under my same name. So I've tried to at least keep that consistent across the board. So I'm discoverable. I'm Googleable.
Yeah. What I always say is, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm, at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website at steveakeley.com. And of course, I've got a company website too, and that's abvnetwork.com. So check it out. Everything that we do is out there. Jenna, actually, when I first started, again, this all goes back to everybody thinks that you just drop in and you know everybody in bourbon. I didn't know anybody in bourbon when I started this stuff out. Jenna actually helped me out. She was an announcer on some shows very early on. So you can go back, you can search Jenna's name in abvnetwork.com and pull up those old websites where she was doing a little announcing for us in the early days of the ABV network. So check it out. Check it out, abvnetwork.com. Of course, give us a 5-star review. It helps everything that we're trying to do. And of course, if you like what we're doing, head over to patreon.com/the ABV network, where you can get involved in what we do. That'd be great. All right, Jenna, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been great, Steve. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great catching up with you. Take care for our audience. We'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See you. Peace. Before we finish the show, let's chat for a moment about Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you just want to experiment on a small scale on the stove in your kitchen or try your hand at a bigger setup in the backyard, Moonshine Still Pro can help. They have different still offerings as well as accessories and even grains from Goldstone Mill to help you make whiskey on par with what you get from your favorite distillery. They can even assist with a DIY still project by supplying some of the parts you can't make yourself. Check them out at moonshinestillpro.com. At the ABV Network, we're lucky enough to have some great friends. Amongst those friends is the Goldstein family, owners of Goldstone Mill. Goldstone Mill is a full-service mill offering a variety of heritage and heirloom grains. Their unique approach of working with mills around the country allows them to offer you affordable shipping opportunities to meet the unique needs of your distillery or brewery. They will consult with you to ensure the grains you are selecting meets the unique flavor profiles you are looking for. If you are a home brewer or distiller and you're looking for the grains that your local distillery or brewery uses, Goldstone Mill is the place to look. Check them out on the web at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or shoot them an email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.